today is that those who have to make things happen are coming and saying what happened. We don't expect the leaders to come and give us analysis of what happened. We need them to take decisions in order to take the country forward and to see that the economy will develop. But what we see today is that they're all coming and giving excuses. They come and say what happened, and therefore, as if they are not the people who are in charge. In that sense, there were several areas that they have been speaking of in the recent past. Firstly, this government spokesman said that the exports to the GDP ratio has dropped. But they forgot to mention that exports is not only exports of goods, but exports of services as well. If you take the totality of the exports of not only the physical goods, merchandise, but also services like tourism, port services, insurance and banking services, the aviation services, BPO services, as well as IT services, you would find that the total exports have risen substantially during the period of the previous regime. But now we see that that is not taking place, and that the entire structure of exports is dwindling. You'll also see that there was an attempt to say that the central bank's intervention in the foreign exchange market is something which should not be done. This government is saying that because they have already intervened more in their 4 years, much more than what the previous government intervened in their 9 years. And yet the previous government was able to build up reserves by nearly $5 billion, whereas this government has so far dropped the reserve by more than $1 billion. At the same time, the totality of the interventions have been so huge that it still has not been able to stop the depreciation of the currency, which is as much as 9.1% so far per annum. It's a huge depreciation which has taken place during this regime. Under the previous regime, from 2006 right up to 2014, the rupee depreciated by only 2.8% per annum, a much lower rate of depreciation, which allowed people to have a clear view of the Sri Lankan rupee, and that enabled people to do business. It improved the investment climate. There were a lot of investments that came in, and that was the type of economic management that took place during that time. But today, it has failed miserably. I'm sorry to say, this government is responsible for that entire debacle, and today we see the repercussions of that in the day-to-day life of the people.